This is the only event being organized in Washington, D.C., which is based on the building of a class-conscious, politically conscious movement of the working class that ties the struggle against war, the genocide in Gaza, the expanding wars of American imperialism around the world, with a fight against the war on the working class in the United States and around the world. In opposition to the war criminals and the corporate flacks in the U.S. Congress who are welcoming the butcher of Gaza to their esteemed chambers today, the Socialist Equality Party, our candidate for U.S. President, Joseph Kishore, and myself are advancing a program to mobilize the working class in the fight for peace, for good jobs, and for democratic rights. Whether it is Biden, Harris, and the Democrats, or Trump, Vance, and the Republicans, both corporate-controlled parties agree on genocide, expanding military confrontation against Russia and China and Iran, poverty for the working masses, endless handouts to the corporations and the super rich, and the suppression of all opposition to war from the college campuses to the factories and warehouses in America's industrial heartland. Some 380,000 educators face the elimination of their jobs in the next 2 years because the Biden administration has allowed COVID relief school funding to expire, although the pandemic continues to ravage the country. School districts around the country, from San Francisco to Detroit to Chicago, are facing fiscal cliffs and announcing thousands and thousands of layoffs and the cutting of programs. While the U.S. government, Democrats and Republicans spend approximately $1 trillion a year on war. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, ending world hunger by 2030 would require an annual investment of only $267 billion. That is roughly a quarter of what the U.S. spends on its war machine every year. And while it wages war abroad, the capitalist class and its two parties are waging a war against the working class at home. Millions are struggling to pay rising food and fuel and housing costs. Young people are saddled with skyrocketing student debt and few prospects ever to land a job in their fields. Automation, AI, and other technical achievements, which in a rational world would be used to make life easier, to shorten the work week and improve living standards under capitalism, are used to throw thousands of workers into the streets and impoverish their families. Meanwhile, the wealth of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the top 1% hit a record $44.6 trillion at the end of 2023. During the SEP's campaign for ballot access in Michigan and other states, we have encountered a deep revulsion for the wanton slaughter of the Palestinian people with U.S.-supplied bombs and weapons. After 35 years of endless wars, there is widespread opposition in the working class to further wars and great anxiety over the reckless actions of the Biden administration in Ukraine, which risk nuclear Armageddon. The Democratic Party is so identified with war that Trump and his phony populist Vice President J.D. Vance find it politically advantageous to pose as anti-war. even though, of course, they will not hesitate to wage bloody wars to defend American imperialism. Because of the right-wing pro-war policies of the Democratic Party and the trade union bureaucracy, the U.S. now faces the prospect of the election of Trump and the emergence of American fascism. Vance, the billionaire-backed senator and venture capitalist who presents himself as a barefoot boy from Kentucky and Ohio, declared at the RNC last week that America is not based on, quote, abstract ideas and principles, but on a supposed devotion to our, quote, ancestral homeland. This recalls Hitler's myth of a racially pure German folk whose identity derives from blood and soil. The Teamsters president, Sean O'Brien, was a featured speaker at this festival of anti-immigrant chauvinism and reaction, showing that a section of the labor bureaucracy is throwing in its lot with fascism. Other unions, including the UAW, the flight attendants, the SEIU, the UE, the National Nurses Union, they've hypocritically claimed that they support a ceasefire in Gaza. Yet at the same time, all of them are defending and committed to support Harris just as they did Biden. In other words, the perpetrators of genocide and the war on the working class at home. The Biden administration has championed the incorporation of the unions into its policy for war, and the labor bureaucrats have volunteered their services. Genuine democracy is completely incompatible with a society with such great levels of social inequality and endless wars. Today, it is up to the international working class to defend the great egalitarian and democratic ideals of the past and to realize them in the struggle for its emancipation from wage slavery and the capitalist system. The fascistic Republicans and identity politics-obsessed Democrats do everything they can to deny the existence of the class struggle. But it is the overriding reality of American and world history and contemporary society. Nowhere else have the struggles of the working class been as explosive as in the United States. From the May Day, the origins of May Day, the Haymarket Massacre, the great struggle of 1877, to the founding of the CIO movement in the 1930s, the civil rights struggles of the 1950s, to the 1980s, when on this very lawn, 500,000 workers were marching to demand that the working class get rid of Reagan for firing the air traffic controllers. The working class has consistently shown that it is the sole social force capable of overthrowing capitalism and reorganizing society on the basis of genuine democracy, equality, and international brotherhood of the working class. That is the struggle for socialism. The central issue remains the political struggle to break the working class from the Democrats and Republicans and all capitalist politics, and to forge the unity of the international working class in a common struggle. None of today's problems, genocide, war, the pandemic, social inequality, climate change, none of these are national problems. These are global problems which require global solutions. In our campaign, Joseph Kishore and I will deepen our struggle in the working class to fight for its political independence and the fight for the program of international socialism I want to thank you very much. Please come to our website, socialism2024.org. Thank you very much.